Have you ever felt like you're living in a twisted movie where you're the only one who sees the monster hiding in plain sight? You try to warn others, you shout the truth, but instead of being believed, you're labeled as too sensitive, dramatic, or even the problem. If that hits home, chances are you're dealing with a narcissist. But this isn't a video about revenge. This is a video about taking back your power, protecting reality, and defeating manipulation, not with rage, but with strategy, calm, and precision, like a game of chess. You don't need to scream that they're lying. You just need to let them talk long enough, and they'll expose themselves. In today's episode, I'll walk you through a step-by-step, subtle yet powerful plan to make a narcissist reveal their true nature right in front of others. And no, you won't need a dramatic confrontation or public validation to pull this off. All you need is well-timed silence, sharp observation, and a little patience. Done right, they'll contradict themselves, lie, and ultimately destroy their own credibility while you stay calm, dignified, and in control. So if you're ready to step out of the toxic fog and reclaim your stolen power, watch this video all the way through. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the bell because you're not alone, and the truth deserves to be seen. Step 1. The silent mirror. Become an emotional reflection. This is the first step, and also the most subtle in the journey of getting a narcissist to expose their true self. At this stage, you are neither the victim nor the warrior. You are the mirror. But not just any mirror. You are an emotional mirror still, calm, observant, and absolutely silent about what lies within you. Imagine standing in front of a master manipulator, someone who can turn lies into truth, someone who knows how to make you doubt your own reality. Confronting them with logic, tears, or anger will only make you lose faster. But if you pull yourself inward, and instead reflect them back to themselves, they will begin to unravel. The first thing you must master is the art of non-reactive responses. Sounds contradictory. That's the brilliance of it. When they share a vague story, shift blame, or subtly attack you, don't challenge them with "why would you say that?" Just smile lightly and say, I understand. Thanks for sharing. That's interesting. These phrases may sound neutral, even pointless, but they are powerful tools. They keep you in a safe position without giving up your control. You're not agreeing with them, but you're not rejecting them either. You're giving them no emotional leverage to push back against. Most importantly, you make them believe you're following along. And then, what happens? They begin to talk more. They feel trusted, heard. Their ego inflates. They start adding details, exaggerating the story, and slowly, they reveal cracks in their lies. The more silent and neutral you remain, the more they overplay their hand. Without realizing it, they begin dropping breadcrumbs of their deceit and manipulation. At this stage, the biggest challenge is resisting the urge to correct, expose, or be validated. You will want to speak up. You will want to call out their contradictions. But don't. Remember, a mirror doesn't speak. It reflects. And when you commit to playing the silent mirror, you'll notice the narcissist becoming overconfident and sloppy. They'll get dates wrong. They'll retell stories inconsistently. They'll start believing you're not smart, that you've been tamed, that you're under their thumb. That moment, that's when you're winning, and they have no idea. The power of this step isn't in pretending to be naive, it's in becoming unreactive, unpredictable, and non-confrontational. This breaks the narcissist's entire control strategy, because their game depends on controlling your emotional reactions. Once they don't know what you're thinking or what you'll do next, they lose their grip. In short, being the silent mirror is not weakness. It's the strength of strategic calm. You don't need to scream to be heard. You just need to let them talk until their mask falls apart. And you, the one they thought was being led, are actually the one in full control. So what's the next move? Once they're used to that harmless-looking mirror, you simply shift the angle just enough for them to finally see who they really are. But first, you must master the art of intentional silence. And you, my friend, are already on the right path. Step 2. Reverse reflection. Elicit, remind without resistance. If in step 1 you were a silent mirror, then in step 2, you begin to slightly shift the angle, just enough for the narcissist to start seeing themselves without realizing it. This is the moment you begin to bring up their contradictory behaviors and statements, not by attacking them, but through gentle, harmless reminders. The key here is a technique called indirect reflection. You don't say you lied. Instead, you ask casually, as if you're seeking help or clarification. "Oh, I remember you said that meeting got cancelled, so it actually happened. I'm trying to piece together last week's timeline, got a little jumbled. Where were you that day again? Could you walk me through that again?" I mixed up some of the details from that day. These questions seem innocent, but they're actually subtle pressure points. The goal isn't to confront them on the spot. The goal is to get them to repeat a lie or give a new version of the same story. You're creating space for them to build their own maze and then get lost in it. And the most important rule, do not correct them. Don't say that's not what you said before. No arguing, no raised eyebrows, no sighing. Just respond with, "Oh, I see. I'm just trying to understand." When you stay calm and appear genuinely confused or curious, they feel in control, and that sense of control feeds their arrogance. They'll talk more, exaggerate more, add more made-up details. Every word they say becomes another brick in a wall that will eventually box them in when you reveal the evidence. Another highly effective technique is to repeat their own words back to them gently and without accusation. "Right, you mentioned before that I tend to be controlling, didn't you?" "Yeah, I remember you said you were hanging out with your old friends that night." That's all. No interrogation needed, but by repeating their words completely innocently, you force them to either stick to their story or contradict themselves. Either outcome serves you. This is also the phase where you need to closely observe their non-verbal reactions. Do they pause? Look away? Rephrase awkwardly? Every micro-expression becomes a puzzle piece, part of a bigger picture you are carefully and patiently assembling. And remember, just like in chess, you don't win with every move. You set the board. And when the moment is right, one simple, casual question can cause their entire web of lies to collapse. Indirect reflection is the weapon of intelligence and patience. You don't need to scream to uncover the truth. You only need to create the space for the truth to reveal itself. They won't realize they've been playing by your rules until it's far too late. Once you've created those small contradictions, gradually guiding them into deceiving themselves and others, it's time to move into your next role. You're no longer the obedient listener, no longer the still mirror. Now you become the documenter, the quiet analyst, the undercover detective. And that brings us to step 3. Step 3. The secret file. Become the quiety recorder of truth. At this stage, you no longer need to react. You don't need to confront. Instead, you shift your full attention to collecting, cross-referencing, and storing. Imagine you're building a living archive of evidence, not to win an argument, but to protect your dignity, the truth, and if needed, for legal action. Start by documenting every important interaction. You don't need to write a novel. Just keep it simple: the date, time, context, what they said, what you said, and whether there was any inconsistency. Example: July 10th, met at Cafe X. He said he hasn't contacted his ex-wife in 3 months. July 12th, he slipped and said, "My ex called the other day asking about the kid." The contradiction is clear. You don't need to analyze or judge, just record it. Next, create a private folder, encrypted or password protected if needed. Take screenshots of messages. Record conversations if legally allowed. Note facial expressions, evasive body language, or small behavior shifts like how they avoid a question or change tone when you bring up the past. Here's a powerful tip: use a voice recording app to capture your own verbal recap right after each interaction. Speak in your own voice while the memory is fresh. Met with A at 2 p.m. He claimed he deleted Facebook, but he liked one of my posts 2 days ago. His expression tensed up when I mentioned his ex. These seemingly scattered notes will, over a few weeks, form a coherent pattern. You'll start to see the lies, what they lie about, when, and under what circumstances. From there, you'll understand where their manipulation takes root and, more importantly, how to cut it off at the source. Remember, you're not documenting out of anger. You're documenting because truth needs to be remembered clearly, and emotion clouds memory. Writing it down gives you clarity even in emotional storms. Important: do not share this archive with anyone unless they are absolutely trustworthy or hold a professional legal role in your recovery, a therapist, attorney, or law enforcement. This is a private file, not a weapon for revenge, but a shield to protect you when the time is right. In summary, this step is quiet but extremely powerful. While they think you've been manipulated, you're actually building a complete picture with logic, structure, and undeniable facts. They live by scripts, you live by evidence. They act on emotion, you respond with data. They survive on illusion, but from now on you live by truth. Step 4. Subtle misdirection, leading them astray with their OWN script. This step marks a smooth yet absolute shift in power. After you've observed long enough, documented thoroughly, and understood the narcissist's manipulation blueprint, You're no longer on the defensive. But instead of striking back like a warrior, you move like a chess master, subtly misleading, gently luring, and letting them choose the very path that leads to their own downfall. You don't do this through confrontation or rebellion. You do it through calculated innocence. You start to appear a little unsure, a little lost, a little "what do you think I should have done?" You make yourself appear small not because you're weak, but because you're giving their ego just enough room to inflate and implode. You ask for their opinions, their advice, even their guidance about the very behaviors they themselves are guilty of, using a tone that's humble and genuinely curious. For example, lately I feel like people are avoiding me. I wonder if I've been too controlling. I'm not sure if I overreacted about the other day. What's your take on it? These kinds of questions give them a sense of dominance and control, so they won't hesitate to educate you, often using the exact same manipulation tactics they've used before. What they don't know is that you're recording every lesson not on tape, but with a sharp memory and cool observation. You can also pretend to forget certain details to subtly expose old lies. Wait, didn't you say you were on a work trip that day? I thought I saw a photo of you in that same shirt, but it looked like a different place. Say it softly, as if you're genuinely confused. That's when they start patching their story, and the more they patch it, the more holes show. Every cover-up becomes another brick in the wall of contradictions that will eventually collapse on its own. Emotionally, stay unpredictable. One day you're warm and responsive. The next you're cold and distant. One day you're talkative. The next you reply with a single word. This emotional variation throws them off balance. They can no longer predict or control your state, and in trying to regain that control, they reveal even more of their fragility. The harder they push, the more exposed they become. Most importantly, this step is not about controlling them, it's about controlling the environment. You're not exposing them, you're opening doors. You're not tearing off masks, you're handing them a mirror. And the beautiful part, they'll walk straight into the psychological trap they believe is their throne. This step is the art of gentle ruthlessness. You don't destroy by force, you destroy by creating space. It's not the attack that topples the castle, it's the quiet removal of the foundation, brick by brick. And once the entire structure of their lies begins to shake, you'll be fully prepared for the next phase, setting the trap, and letting them fall into the pit they dug for themselves. Step 5. The final position, creating a fall they can't stop. When you've been patient enough to stay silent at the right moments, sharp enough to reflect indirectly, and strategic enough to mislead without confrontation, you've successfully led the narcissist to the edge of their own downfall. They think they're winning. They believe you've given up. They assume their script has played out perfectly. And that is exactly when you begin to position the final move. The goal of this step is not revenge, it's to bring the truth into the light, using their own words and actions in a way that's public, undeniable, and most importantly requires no justification from you. This is your moment to deliver a counterblow, not with force, but with timing. You begin by letting them strike first, because narcissists always do. They must attack to feel powerful. They may spread rumors, talk behind your back, twist stories to friends or family, or smear your image in public. And that is their fatal blind spot. Because while they're busy finishing you off with those lies, you've already collected every piece of evidence, screenshots, original texts, time-stamped notes, recordings, or simply a clear, consistent timeline supported by observers who, over time, have begun to see the truth through your quiet strategy. You don't need to shout. You simply state the facts calmly, clearly, and with precision. For example, when they accuse you of being controlling or tracking them, all you need to say is, "You say I'm controlling. But here in this message, you're the one who asked me to share my location every time I left the house, so you'd feel at ease. I still have it." Or when they deny something they said or did. "That's strange, because I still have the message from XY where you clearly said." No anger, no insults. Just let the truth do its work and let them sit in their own shame. But this final move doesn't end with making them look bad. If it stopped there, it would be short-term satisfaction. The true impact lies in presenting the truth in the right place, to the right people, at the right time, where their lies carry real consequences. This might mean, in front of family members, to reclaim your reputation, to a manager or HR if they're manipulating the workplace, to a court if you're going through a divorce or custody battle. You don't send this evidence to them, they'll only deny it. You submit it to the people who matter, the ones with power, influence, or legal authority. And at that point, they're left with nothing but confusion, anger, or a crushing silence. They've walked right into the trap. But this trap doesn't have spikes, screams, or violence. It only has truth and light that exposes every layer of deception. At this point, you don't need to say I was right. You don't need applause. Because you know you didn't win because you played harder. You won because you didn't play by their rules. And when the truth is out, you step back quietly, leaving the narcissist alone to face their greatest defeat. Exposed by their own ego, undone by their own script, and destroyed not by the victim they underestimated, but by the very person who led them into the endgame with grace and clarity. Is it over now? Not quite. Because the final battle isn't with them. It's with the peace you must now protect inside yourself. Step 6. Silence after victory, holding power without the need to control. After the final move, after you've exposed the full truth with calm precision, you might feel the urge to deliver one last blow. Maybe you want to send one final message. Ask them, now what? Or tell everyone you know so they can see the real face of the narcissist. Don't. True victory isn't measured by their reaction after being exposed, it's measured by your reaction after reclaiming your power. Because if you rush to respond, explain, or celebrate your win, you've unknowingly stepped back into their game, conflict, attention, and chaos. At this point, the most powerful thing you can do is remain completely silent. No texts. No social media posts. No let me tell you what really happened stories. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You know the truth. You have the evidence. You've placed them in the very light they spent their life trying to avoid. This final silence is no longer a strategy, it's a declaration of strength. It says, I don't need you to believe me. I only need to know the truth myself. And I've chosen peace. During this phase, continue to observe their reactions but do not engage. Any long-winded email, desperate text, or dramatic phone call is just the twitch of someone losing control. Every word they speak now, if carefully documented, can serve you later, in legal matters, work disputes, or simply as a reminder to yourself, this is why I left. If they attack, you protect, not retaliate. If they blame, you stay grounded, not reactive. If they come crawling back with change or remorse, you don't need to verify it because you already know the pattern. And if they go silent, perfect. That's how you know the trap is closed and the game is over. Your victory isn't their downfall. Your victory is the full restoration of yourself. This final step is about returning to peace, reclaiming inner freedom, and setting strong personal boundaries. You've learned the hard lesson. And now you live with new awareness, no more repetition, no turning back. If you need, write in a journal. Speak with a therapist. Choose carefully who is worthy of hearing your story. But never go back to explain it to the narcissist. They don't need it, and they don't deserve it. You didn't just survive. You reclaimed sovereignty over your own life. You turned your wounds into a strategy, and now it's time to turn that strategy into lasting peace. If you've made it to the end of this journey, you are no longer the fragile person once trapped in a relationship with a narcissist. You are someone who has walked through fire not to seek revenge, but to learn how not to be burned. You've learned to stay silent not because you had nothing to say, but because you understood that truth doesn't need to scream to survive. You've learned to set the trap not to hurt, but to end the cycle of deceit with intelligence and self-control. True victory isn't about watching them collapse. It's about standing tall without needing them to fall. Victory isn't exposing them to the world. It's realizing you no longer have anything to prove to anyone. And when you chose silence in the end, it wasn't weakness. It was the highest form of inner power. Because real power isn't about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. You saw who they really are not through anger, but through analysis. Not through tears, but through observation. You faced the lies, the manipulation, the sweet words that came before the betrayal, and you survived. No one can give back what you lost, time, trust, innocence. But you can rebuild everything with new materials, awareness, boundaries, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. They no longer have power over you. Not because they've changed, but because you're no longer the same. From this moment forward, you don't need to fight anymore. You just need to live truthfully, authentically, and with quiet strength. Those who deserve you will recognize you. Those who rely on manipulation will no longer find a place in your world. Be proud because you didn't just survive a toxic relationship. You outgrew the old version of yourself, the one who doubted, who tried to please the wrong people, who ignored their own intuition. Now you are clear, you are strong, you are awake, and you are free. If this journey brought you pain, let this ending bring you peace. Because the truth is, you were never weak. You just had never been shown how to reclaim the power that was stolen from you. Now you have it. And from here on out, you are no longer the victim, you are the master.